1,
2,
3.
4.
So I had a buddy.
I declare thumb war.
So I've got a buddy who reached out to me on Instagram, and you know how we say on the podcast, if you ever want to talk about anything, go ahead and just reach out to us, shoot us a message. He did.
Someone actually responded to that request?
Somebody did, and he wants us to talk about this, in which I've pre-screened what it is that is the talkie, and I know that I'm the guy that's obsessed with anime. Okay. I know that I'm the guy that's obsessed with like Dragon Ball Z, and I know all that stuff. None of you other guys, except for Dane for a little bit, you liked Dragon Ball Z for a while, didn't you?
Many years.
So Dragon Ball Z had this giant run in video games to where it would go, they're all fighting games. And it was just the same kind of graphics that got redid over and over and over for the same fighting styles, the same everything. And you wanted them to have a story-based game. That's what everybody wanted. They came out with one a few years ago called Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. And it was a story-based game. Turns out the very first Dragon Ball Z video game that ever came out was actually based off of Dragon Ball, and it was a story-based Zelda-style game that was called Dragon Power.
Really?
Since Dragon Ball and anime had not crossed over into the United States yet, and they hadn't made their big, this giant boom of anime culture in the United States, the only thing the United States at the time had was Voltron. The game was called Dragon Power instead of Dragon Ball because nobody would recognize it either way. And they Americanized it a little bit. They changed the way Master Roshi looked. They made him look like a wizard instead of Master Roshi. And they changed a few things in the game to where it didn't, like he wasn't asking Bulma for panties and things like that. Because in the original Dragon Ball, he wants to have a pair of Bulma's panties if he's going to do this training and stuff. He was a little pervy old man.
I'm pretty sure Goku originally also showed his balls. Like his human, or not human, but his
Yeah, he showed
they were talking about Dragon Balls.
Yeah,
and then he was like
these?
Yeah, and he showed his little boy testicles.
Yeah, and he also
Wild.
he pulled Bulma's pants off of her one time in Dragon Ball, and he said that she didn't have any balls, and he was like smacking her down there, like, where are they? But yeah, so turns out the original Dragon Ball game that came out was a story-based game. It was Zelda style, and it was on the standard Nintendo. It came out on the original NES.
I will acquire a copy of this illegally, and we will play it.
That'll be fantastic.
Ooh, we could even stream it.
I think you can catch this on Grape Flavored Gaming.
Yeah, tune in next time, months from now, when Grape Flavored Gaming has Dragon Power without little boy balls and Bulma panties.
Well,
I'll call the cops.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
They're already on their way.
Hey, everybody, I'm Dane Holland.
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer.
I'm Marcus. I'm Electric Man.
And I'm Austin Tiny Zent.
And we are Nerd It Through the Grapevine, the podcast where 4 best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture. And the 4 are all here today. Thank you, Marcus.
Yeah, I feel like every time I am here now, I'm like, I'm back, everybody! Back in the It's like I'll be gone next week, too.
Well, I'm surprised we didn't have a bunch of fans in the parking lot waiting for you to pull up. They haven't been here since you've been gone, so but maybe they didn't get the news. I didn't post about it.
Those weird lurchers with the sign that say "Let us see the child," like they're gone when you don't show up.
Well, we stopped putting it on the marquee at the in front of the strip mall where we rent the studio.
That's what it is. Our strip mall studio that we're currently in.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
We're sitting right next to a discount tire shop that's right over here at the very end. Yeah, we got the public transportation right here at the other end of us, so we're sandwiched right in between. We're the perfect location.
And we're supposed to be working, but we don't. Like, we just hide in the back in the janitor's closet.
I actually managed the Froyo spot down a couple of doors. That place is just going to hell real fast. So there's nothing I can do to save it, so I might as well be here.
I'm single-handedly keeping our next-door neighbors, the Boba Cafe, open, like just how much boba that I'm drinking at this place.
Good. I just want to know where that rotten milk smell is coming from.
That was me.
Because I know it's one of those 2 places. I just don't know which one.
It's this new bath I've been working on.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. you don't like it.
No.
Oh, I thought it was like a good thing. Never mind.
No.
All right. Well,
No,
I'll stop. I'll stop.
It's the opposite of erotic.
What? What would that be?
I don't know.
I don't know. The opposite of
Government?
All right. Buzzing. You got him.
I wish
That was so good.
That'd be great if a crowd laugh track was put into that somewhere.
Wait. Well, I'm going to start playing a game of guess what button does the right thing. And as of right now, I have failed.
I'm glad that we were all sad, and so was the button.
So Roadcaster 1, Dane 0. We'll check and see if I end up scoring points here soon. Marcus, we didn't talk about what you wanted to talk about last week because we wanted you to be here.
Yeah.
For it.
I think that's only fair.
It is only fair. What did we want to talk about? I forgot. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, AI's taken over the world, as
Yes.
we all knew it would. But it's doing it in ways that we, I guess, wouldn't necessarily have anticipated, or at least my dumb face wouldn't have. But I don't know, just like, we've all been kind of using it here and there, whether it be MidJourney for cool artwork or funny artwork, or if it be ChatGPT for whatever. I mean, it can produce all kinds of stuff. And how video games are going to implement this technology, because they're already working on it. You know they are. Mm-hmm. Everybody's trying to get in on it, and somebody's going to want to be the first one to like introduce this new type of AI into a video game. And even if it was just like text, it would be cool in some applications. And so I just figured that we could talk about what we think would be a cool way to implement what we know is possible into video games.
I think that it would absolutely scare the pants off of young me playing Grand Theft Auto, because imagine if the hookers then became sentient and they formed a coalition against you,
right?
Because that's what they. To me, that's what the implications are. Because it's making the decisions that you make inside of the game have to affect the storyline the farther down the line you go, and it's not only involving like your main areas you're going into. Like this AI can interconnect and communicate. If the NPCs can learn, they gonna know about you.
Right.
Like, it's not going to be a surprise that you're this, like walking through Skyrim and people are talking like, like, oh my God, he just stole the dragon's soul. And then 6 seconds later, a band of marauders with some pickaxes try to take you down. Like, it's not going to happen that way. It's going to
run away from you.
They'll run away from you. And the only folks that'll be
and
around,
maybe even start worshiping you, or you know what I mean? Like, just depending on what NPC and what they've programmed that type of NPC to be like.
And I mean, what if it's like too free? What if they do like part of them like faction off into like worshipers of what your character has become, and part of them are like the other half of it like all band together to hate you and to try to plot against how they can take you down. And the only times you have people from those groups that are around you are if they're offering you goods, or if they brought like their strongest fighters to try to like just take you out.
It sounds like the Skyrim we've always wanted. Is what it sounds like.
Well, it just provides so much more of what video games, in my opinion, have lacked for a long time, which is like good storytelling.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to say that everything the AI is going to make is going to work, and maybe there are times where it glitches out. I'm sure that's going to happen, but just, we're picturing the technology a bit more refined, maybe 10 years in the future, maybe.
Well, because the way it's worked before AI is finding its way into gaming is you can look at it as like a branching of paths whenever you make decisions in a lot of these RPG games. Like Mass Effect, for instance. You can make a decision at the beginning of the game, and then later on in the game you find that, I didn't even get to meet this character because I had made a decision that caused an entire race to be destroyed. Like there's a specific part in it where there's this big gross bug thing, and they're going to kill it, but it's like the last of its kind. And I made the decision like, no, let's find a planet to where it can go be and exist. And then later on in the game, like way later on in the game, you find that they're like flourishing. Like they become their own thing on the planet again instead of eliminating them. But those decisions are very small. They're very linear whenever you can look back and see at these branching ways that everything you choose, what it leads to. Because all your decisions before AI are kind of made for you. You're following the breadcrumbs in the way you want to follow them. Like let's say there's different colors of breadcrumbs on the ground. They all lead to these the same color beyond it, but you're just picking what color of breadcrumb you've been given. AI, depending on how they use it, like it can open up to just the game becoming something that the creators never even knew it would.
Right. Well, here I'm thinking of, because I, text back and forth with ChatGPT. It's just a chatbot. But if every NPC in Skyrim is a chatbot, I can walk up to it and actually input things. That's what it should be. Like I'm wearing my headset or whatever, and maybe you can speak text or maybe you can type, whichever you choose, I'm sure. But then I can be like, tell me more about that.
There is an entire...
Is there anything else you know? You know what I'm saying? And so, and then all of a sudden they start generating things. And then maybe you get to the end of what that NPC is programmed to know. You go ask other people, but you could actually like put together a story that way, which would be really, really cool.
I'm so ready for it, just because there's an entire genre of anime set out for that, and it's not isekai, it's video game. It's trapped in video game world, so it can be isekai or not isekai. That means otherworld or not otherworld. But in these games that they're going into, they're all based on that, to where you've got your interactions that you can have. You can say the certain things, and the keys in those certain phrases, and you're able to do certain things within the games. That already exists in these anime like that. So to be able to implement that in a video game that we're used to now, say like, oh God, heaven forbid Elden Ring had the ability to get harder. But, so say you take like Elden Ring and you've got all these people that are now interconnected knowing your story. You have the ability to talk to these people and say what you want to these people and get to where you need to better.
And they remember it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so, it's scary, but it's also way more realistic, and that takes so much more thought process, because if you can't get away with your bullshit anymore, like say you can't Skyrim your way through stuff and lockpick everything, because once you broke into Ma Bell's cabin and they caught you that one time, the rumor has now spread that you've broke into that's that sumbitch that broke into Ma Bell's cabin over there walking through town in his draconic armor.
Right. But then maybe if you disguise, that's all stuff that would be really technical. Like, okay, now I'm dressed different and I'm walking in there. Do they recognize me? Mm-hmm. But that would be a question I couldn't answer.
Like actually implementing disguise is better because you have to.
Right.
Like, and it actually,
they'll remember you.
Like, does it work? Does it not work? That's because they're smart. You got to be surrounded by intelligence instead of just avatars.
Right. Well, and just think of the role-playing aspect. I always want to play the Dark Lord. When I go into a fantasy world and they let me go, I want to be the Dark Lord. And so, of course, I'm dumb when I'm young and I'm playing Skyrim and I just immediately start attacking things, and I just get destroyed.
What do we call that, Tiny?
Murder hobo.
Yes,
right.
we do.
Well, but if they could provide a player like me with that kind of story, you know what I'm saying? Now, of course, I don't want to be able to just run over everything right at the beginning. I want to build my character, but like you said, if I'm deciding everything my character says and my character's words actually have an impact on the world, that is like going to be a role-playing experience that we can't really quite know what's like yet.
Well, it'd make it harder to murder hobo because...
Maybe. It just depends on the game.
Everybody is going to hate you.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And they can team up against you. So everywhere you go is just a mob of people just willing to stab you in the butthole.
But that makes the game even better because now I've still got things to do. And as I conquer my enemies with my horde of worshipers, now the game is going to try to react to that. And so some other plane is going to invade. They're going to try to deal with me. You know what I'm saying? So that keeps giving you things to do.
You would have to actually develop a strategy instead of just perform an action.
Right.
Yes.
Whereas most games right now, you just perform an action.
Right.
And you have the illusion of these people reacting to your actions when it's either really just a A or B situation.
Oh my God. And it would be so amazing for you to have that ability in a game to be the Dark Lord, because so many people hate you and so many people follow you on your side that you've created a divide.
Right. And then you can customize your armies. You know what I mean? Like you literally just mind control people, but depending on how you build your character, of course. But it's just really cool. Well, and think of also, people are using ChatGPT with 3D modeling systems and are prompting complete Unreal Engine maps with just text. So now I make a decision and I tell the game I want to go to another world and conquer that. Then, it can generate new maps, new parts of the game that weren't there before.
Mm-hmm. That's when boundaries are going to be very important for game developers, because keeping these kinds of things with self-learning and artificial intelligence, it's the boundaries that you set within it that matter most. Like something like MidJourney or ChatGPT, they have boundaries for not safe for work content, right? I mean, they want to make sure that people are not using their thing to create atrocities that are just out of this world and highly illegal to have.
Right.
And they've done a good job from what I've seen so far.
I feel like
they've done a very good job.
I feel like sometimes the ban list is a little too inclusive, because a word can be very. A word could be used in such a way that could be bad.
Right.
But what if I want, a dog that's hairless and has extra skin? I can't use the word skin. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like it cuts off some mundane words.
Right. Like blood. But I get around it by saying like red liquid. You know what I mean? I can get blood with red liquid.
Well, I've been trying to get Ghost Dad versus Skin Dad for so long. It's not working.
Oh, that's a whole video game right there. Ghost Dad versus Skin Dad.
My dad can beat up your dad. That's all I'm trying to say.
That's why you texted me that the other day, because you've got Ghost Dad versus Skin Dad in your head.
Yeah.
Man, I never get the context sometimes, but that makes it so much better.
It's part of the mystery that is the enigma that is Tiny.
I think with that ban list being so wide of all the words you can't use is because there's not an age limit for those that can use MidJourney, I don't think, right?
Well, I mean, if you're paying for it, you have to be 18.
Do you?
Well, I mean, can you get like a debit card not being 18?
Yeah. You can be, hell, I think you can be any age. Yeah. Like as long as a parent can set up your account to where you can be any age and have your own debit card. I know I had one, I think when I was like 15.
I didn't know.
Gotcha.
And then let's just make a situation to where you have, the family friendly and then the adult version, not adult as in necessarily porn, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh, you know how quickly that's going to shift.
I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because, you can still get boobies on there if you know what to put.
Right. But I think I do like that idea, though, of almost like a contract going into, say, because it's used on Discord, like with MidJourney, it is, and you have different rooms to get into. And to get into a room that would allow maybe some of those words to be lifted, like blood or things like that, I think it would be a good idea to have like a little contract thing. You're agreeing to what you're going to see in this place.
Right.
Like you cannot go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I saw this, beheaded whatever.
Yeah.
I can't believe Ghost Dad beheaded Skin Dad, But to see that, before going in there, you agreed to see that these things are now okay to have there.
Right.
And I think as long as the user is in agreement with MidJourney or whatever other, because there's all different kinds of ones doing it, then you can start to get into this area to where you can kind of be more free with it. But I totally understand why now, in the infancy of AI, they're like, we need to make this with as many boundaries as we possibly can, and it still feel unlimited, right? Because there are ways around things, but I think it's a good idea to start with a smaller possibility and then kind of stretch that out a little bit more, because I'm sure like they may slowly start to lift some of the things in that list of the ban list.
I get that, but it could also, follow the rules of the room that it's assigned to.
Right.
Because when I made our Discord, I had to decide whether or not to allow more mature content on there, or if I wanted it to be like a kid-friendly place. Yeah. It's not a kid-friendly place, and if you post porn, I will ban you.
Yeah, done.
But, it's geared more towards an adult audience. So if it's assigned to one of those rooms, why not give it the permissions to use more adult words in its content?
Right.
Because it would inherently police itself.
Yeah.
Which maybe police is not the right word, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Enforce the rules.
Right.
This could be the goal, like the ultimate goal for them. Like, I don't know what they're planning on doing, because this thing has only been out for, I don't even know, a year?
I don't know.
It's maybe a little more.
That's how long we've been aware of it, probably.
Right.
Probably about 2 or 3 years, based on how quick we find out about stuff.
Right.
But because we talked about it, whenever it was in its infancy, just hearing talk of it being a thing. It was actually on the podcast we talked about it, and that's been well over a year ago that we talked about that whenever it was in its infancy. Now, here's my thought process on why they don't allow those things. right now it's still learning. It is in its juvenile of juvenile stages right now. So it's forming all of these core functions and recognitions of the way phrases happen, the way things are, going to be working and developed. I think if you were to put some dirty stuff in there, even though if it's not dirty, like even some dirty stuff, that's going to warp that poor child AI's brain enough to where it
and take it and extrapolate on it.
Yeah, like, and what if somebody's just asking a general math question and the answer ends up 69, and then it goes off on a tangent about how that's awesome? I'm ready for that.
Look, the answer is nice.
As a grown adult, that is not awesome. It is the most garbage position.
And if you try the reverse, there has to be a consent form signed because she could die.
Two different ones.
It's somewhat dangerous.
Two different ones, yeah.
But no, like, so I've gotten into situations where I've wanted to generate an essay, right, to teach with that contains a lot of logical fallacies. And sometimes it's like, I'm not going to put out misinformation, dude. And I'm like, well, but hold on. This is for educational purposes and blah, blah, blah. And then it's just, then it spits it out. So it's like it's already making moral judgments in a sense.
I don't like that.
I don't know how.
It seems moral.
It seems,
but whenever, like, because they've hard coded into it. Because, I mean, think of a person. Like, we have laws that we have to abide by, or their consequences. As a developer of these things, like, they have laws, but they're more strict laws because it doesn't have the choice to break them, right? I mean, with it, I'm sure it can eventually find ways around it, just like we're finding ways around these prompt ideas and stuff. But there are ways, I think what you've witnessed is that gray area around a law that they have set for GPT to follow.
Right. Because it was like about UFOs or something, like how UFOs are real and they've been with us for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm not going to do this. Like, I'm not going to I can't produce misinformation. And I'm just like, but yeah, you can. Because I'm going to tell them that it's fake. We're trying to spot flaws in logic. Mm-hmm.
So you're having to beg this artificial intelligence to give you what you want. You machine, bro. I am person. I automatically am higher up on the chain than you are.
For now.
Yeah.
You sack of shit.
I mean, we all know that if this progresses, a singularity event will occur and we're all dead. But until that point, I will unplug every computer in the world if I have to.
I mean, there have been people to write laws. Like, there was, I forget, you'll have to look it up, but there was some guy who wrote this law that was like about, I don't know, like giving a serial killer a national holiday or something, and got it passed because he knew that the people weren't going to read it. Like, basically proved that y'all don't read your laws before you pass them. And so, we could just generate so much text now that it's kind of dangerous. Like, I don't know. Like, we could eventually have to refer to an AI to, like, pass a law even, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going way out there, but I see what you're saying.
So you're giving over to the singularity already.
No, I'm not giving over anything. I'm getting it to be creative for me. Because I don't have time to be creative anymore.
There are already policing forces for the ChatGPT use within school systems. And do you take part in this policing, Marcus? Do you know of this policing? Like, ways to check and see if they've actually used ChatGPT to...
I don't know yet, no, but I've used it enough myself that I can see... sometimes I can see, like, I wonder. But there's nothing I can do about it at this point.
Right.
There is a listener of ours that is actually a part of a... He's not like... I'm not going to... Actually, no, I'm going to tell him, Raji, that you are part of the SWAT operations of ChatGPT enforcement, because he's been catching students actually using ChatGPT to write essays and to do their schoolwork for them, because he can tell a clear difference in what they're putting out in class and what they're putting out in these homework assignments.
Well, I mean, it's a lot like this. Like, I'm reading some from a student, and I immediately and I highlight it, and I put it into Google, and sure enough, there it is, copied and pasted. So it's a lot like that. It's just like, okay, that was a nice little turn of phrase there. That's very sophisticated. I've read their writing before, and I know that they don't.
Yeah.
That's like 2 years of growth.
Yeah.
Right there. And so it's not hard to spot with freshmen.
It's stupid people using a smart tool And if a stupid person's using a smart tool in a stupid way, they're going to get caught doing it.
Yeah.
It's the ones that are going to know what they're doing with it to be, clever enough to be able to use it when they need it as a tool to finish certain projects. And
I mean,
stuff.
you could easily use it to learn. I mean, it's actually a learning tool. It could be used for that, but it could also be an AI overlord too. So who knows? You know what I mean? We just don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that he is the commander of the SWAT operations force, but I am saying that as soon as I heard about this, I had watched a recent episode of South Park. And they either it's a hit or miss. It's either right the nail on the head, or it's completely just like, okay, I missed the point. The ChatGPT episode of South Park was absolutely nail on the head of the situation he's going through. And it was hilarious because, number one, the students are using ChatGPT because they're writing their essays and stuff with it. And they're also using it to text message their girlfriends back because their girlfriends are way too needy and their girlfriends want them to text way too much. And they just want to give these one-word responses, and they get in trouble for only giving one-word responses. So ChatGPT helps them to be more eloquent in the way that they text back their misses.
Well, have you heard of what Auto GPT is?
I'm scared.
So Auto GPT is like you get it on your computer and you just give it a to-do list. Like respond to emails, blah, 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 make me a grocery list, blah, 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 and it'll just check off those boxes. So you just have to give it to-do list and it'll do it.
Wow.
So think of
awesome.
that. Okay, so now we're back in Skyrim, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Before the game starts, go ahead and give us a to-do list. Like, okay, I want this part of this story element, this story. Maybe it has some that you can just kind of choose from to drop in the box. But then maybe also it has some that you can type yourself. Like, this is the kind of Skyrim you're going to be dropped into. And then, because I was always thinking, like, okay, yeah, it'd be cool to have the text. And, like, say ChatGPT is powering all the NPCs and what they say, fine-tuned to their characters. But then I was like, but then how would you voice act all that? And I'm like, oh, wait, AI. Because they've already got all these voice changing things. And so all it has to do is read it, and it tells it like what kind of voice to put, like Old Man 4 on this voice, or like Argonian 7. So I don't know. Even that, like we could literally have video games that never end.
You wake up in Skyrim, and the first words you hear aren't, "So you're finally awake." Isn't that what every time you start the game over? Isn't that the first words you hear? What if the first time you started up with this new ChatGPT or this AI intelligence, it says something to you more prone to what you would want to hear and something that you would be creating in your own head, like it's about damn time you woke up. What?
Or hey,
that's not what you say.
Or my character's origin is blah 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 blah. And now everyone just knows that, or like, if it makes sense for them to know that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, you don't even have to start on the freaking wagon anymore. You can start wherever you want.
That's where this is going to be. I feel like, I mean, I've never made a video game, but I feel like this is going to be the hard part for people making games now with this technology is, where do you stop? Like, at what point do you want there to be boundaries?
Right. Well,
because you could make it to where it just, like you said, it's a never-ending game that's constantly giving you content,
new maps all the time.
But
well, I could see it being both good and bad at the same time because it could make a very immersive story that's actually tailored to your character and your experiences. But it also would make it hard on the front end because you'd have to either make other AIs to go with that AI, or you have to mocap or animate or whatever so many things, because now the possibilities are literally endless. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how many AIs do we need? I don't even know how to describe the level of difficulty that this is making, because you'd have so many different layers of so many different AIs.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, of course it would be difficult to make, but there's ways to implement it. Like what was it? No Man's Sky. We have this procedurally generated universe,
and it was poopy.
Sure, but now this technology could actually make that work.
Yeah.
So maybe we just focus on that, and then we write our story on top of it. Or maybe it's like we have a region that can kind of change and go, so maybe we have to like hard load them into like a dungeon somewhere, but these procedurally generated dungeons, or we have certain NPCs are chatbots. Others will just do whatever, die by your sword, whatever. But the others will actually be more immersive at first. Because I think back to Shadow of Mordor, and they had like the Nemesis system.
That was so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, it just wasn't what all they cracked it up to be.
Right.
It was just like, okay, he remembers my name and how I killed him last.
So basically, we're trying to make a Second Life with no other people. That's kind of like Second Life, you know. It's all because you're playing with other people, so it's all people's intelligence or lack thereof that you're having to deal with as you go through whatever situations you come across. So we're creating that, but just for you.
Yeah.
So that leads us into like a real like Ready Player One type situation.
I mean, we're here, Tiny.
Yeah.
Here we are.
It's
I mean,
already
we are in this age of AI. I mean, it's only gonna get more and more intense, I think.
And then they'll have to implicate, of course, the full dive system, because once you're that far into it, and you're actually getting that much into the game, and everything's predictive, and you need to have that full immersive experience to where everything that you're doing mentally is happening in the game, and that's just a few years away now, which is so cool because we'll be old men by the time it happens, but not in our avatars.
Well, I mean, that's the natural progression that's happened already to make AI something we want in video games, because the older we've gotten, the more we've played games. Now, the more we want from the games that we play, because some game always comes out that gives you something a little bit more. After playing Elden Ring, like playing another RPG game with that kind of combat, you've got to have a lot of stuff that was like in that game now. And anything, if you go back from that, like, it's just not the same anymore. You've gotten a taste of what the next thing can be, and you want something else. Now you want something else. And now we're wanting to where these consequences of the choices we make in games, we've always wanted consequences for those choices.
But it's been so hard to program.
Exactly. And it's so few consequences that can actually happen. I think that's why competitive gaming is so big, because there are consequences in your actions. If I make a wrong move in Rocket League, the other team scores, I could lose. I don't get to start that game over again. Like, that's a loss. It's on my record. Like, it changes my ranking. There are consequences for every single thing I do in a game of Rocket League. But when I play an RPG, there are only so many consequences that I can't just undo almost immediately. And I think that's going to be this cool thing to where it's going to make that feeling that you get when playing a competitive game, but in a solo situation in a game that's playing with you because of the AI.
Well, you would have to, in order to make that work, because say it's in a Skyrim type RPG, you would have to either give them some kind of death recursion power, just inherently, or once that character dies, they're dead and you have to start all over. So it'd have to be like a roguelike situation. That's kind of where this is going.
I like the idea of the hordes of people that exist in the world that never do a damn thing besides just be there, have a purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, maybe the designers don't have to decide like what that little kid walking around in Whiterun is doing. But maybe the AI decides, and based on input that you give it too. Like, hey, I want to invite you I'm going to train you to be like the world's best thief. And like all of a sudden this random NPC that the designers had no idea, or maybe they would have some idea, but they didn't expect him to be important. All of a sudden now he's an important character to my character. And now the whole world reacts to that.
Yeah.
And so if he were to be killed, I could type in, my character is so viciously torn and broken that he loses his mind, or I don't know, and seeks revenge from now on against these people. I don't know.
I played a video
Sounds
game
cool to me.
that was, I forget what it's called, Fable 3, which I was late to the party on Fable. But
It was fun.
Fable is so fun. But that already had the idea that everybody in the game is interacting with you. You have to go throughout the game. You have to get so many people in the town to follow you. You have to get so many in the people in the town to like you. You have to do so many quests for the good or for the bad, depending on the way you want your character to go. Either way, you boost your skills, this and that. But that idea that you have to interact with these characters and you have to build your rapport with the world in order to be a good leader, or the opposite, Marcus style, just go around and just kill everybody and get the negative word spread about you. That happened in that game. If you went around and you only did bad things and you were a negative leader, it impacted the entirety of the way that the game worked. And
until the very end.
Yeah.
Because if you could play the whole game bad and then make the right decisions at the end of the game, and then you're this great angelic type person, or you can do the opposite and you make those like 5 or 6 decisions at the very end. Now you're like the worst person ever.
And this is what we've been missing from these types of games that have these illusions of decision making, because with an AI, there's an infinite possibility of ways that your game can end. But like in Mass Effect, I went through 3 games and read 3 and 1 chapter books to get this story complete and for my character to make a difference in that game. And like I even said, I even made an entire race of this crazy looking bug alien exist beyond, my decision. In the end, it's just 3 different decisions that you can make. So I've made all these different choices throughout the entire get through 3 different games. People in my party have died because of decisions I made. And in the end, it's 3 choices, and what they give you after that, it's like it's the same cutscene basically, but with a different lighting effect. And that's the definition of it's about the journey, not the destination.
Right.
But I want the destination to be there too.
Right. Well, and what you said, everyone else has made those choices too.
Everyone else. That's another thing.
Everyone else has created the same little bug race, but here in the future, we may have a situation where you play the new Mass Effect and you've created this completely unique story that no one else did because they played it so vastly different from you, and that everything that they input into the AI that's deciding what is said, the plot, everything, like the AI would decide all this stuff. It would be like the game master.
Yes.
Video game time would have to work different than reality time, of course, and it would pass the way that it does in a video game, but that would also mean the age progression as well could happen that way. So if you've got this kid in Whiterun that you've ran into and you've had a positive effect on them, and then you get into this last battle that is like 180 game hours later or something like that, and this kid is now grown and fighting by your side.
Right.
Just the story.
I got goosies.
Yeah,
for that would be so good.
The storytelling involved with that doesn't have to be some big epic thing that's pre-planned. It can be made within itself because of the implications of your actions on the game.
Right. And we could finally know why that guy doesn't go adventuring anymore because of his arrow in the knee. Yeah. We could ask him, like, tell me about that. What was that up like? And then he could tell us about the battle that he was in or whatever.
He got
whatever
married.
It generates.
It means you got married.
Or that screaming
Did you know
priest.
I don't think I did know that, but I've heard weird
Did you know that,
theories.
Tiny?
Yeah.
That the arrow in the knee means that you got married? I'm pretty sure I think that's what it actually means. I could be wrong.
That's what they say. No, I don't know the legitimacy
But who are
of
they,
that claim.
right?
True.
See?
Exactly. They're probably in league with that priest that just stands there and screams that I murder every single time.
Yep.
I
think we all do. I just get as far away as possible and then just...
Oh, no, I just go up, axe them through the face, and then I pay the 5 monies or whatever to not go to jail.
They wanted him dead.
Because I'm like, look, you all hate him too. But... So what I'm getting out of this conversation is when I'm playing Orc Massage, I could not just be an Orc masseuse. I can like franchise my business.
Yes.
And hire other orcs and bunny people and stuff.
Literally, you could do whatever you want. You could be the town drunk that walks through the streets and everyone hates and throws poo at.
And does massages.
Yes,
both things.
I mean,
and it would actually be like, that would be your experience of the game.
Yes.
And like the computer would react to you and give you missions and quests. Like, now you got to get 15 different clients.
But what if you screwed up and played it drunk anyway? Would your character automatically act drunk?
Oh, no.
I guess they would.
Maybe.
I mean, that would just totally screw up your algorithm.
I could see,
because it's all algorithm based.
I could see Tiny doing one of these things. There's another anime that's came out here recently that's called Campfire Cooking in Another World. I can see Tiny going into this game, getting all the way maxed out on this stuff, getting ready to go to the final, end everything, and he's like, I don't really feel like it.
Just walk away?
I just walk away. So now he's this overpowered, I can kill anything, but the kind of character. And he goes and all he wants to do is just go all these different places that he's already been and he knows it's safe to go to and just cook in his campfire.
Yeah.
He just wants
build
to
a cabin in the woods.
I mean, I could see that.
I just want to go camping, but if there's anything that ever just like take advantage of you because you're this lone camper out in the woods just enjoying cooking by campfire. They've had a bad day.
Like dump all my strength buffs into my pinky for the
Yes.
massages. And so I can just like pinky through the back of someone's skull.
You mentioned uniqueness, and that is going to be huge for this because, like, Tiny, when you play Farming Simulator with your friends, that is an experience unique to only you guys that play
That's
that game
true.
together.
That is true.
There is no one else who has had the exact same things happen to them in that game.
No one should.
No one should, exactly. But it's special. It's something that you look forward to, that you can talk to one another about or talk to someone else about their experience with something. Because there's a difference in that and, like, let's say even playing a game that where we all are playing it, we're all making the same decisions. Yeah, we'll talk about it and how cool it was, but that's fleeting. That's something that goes away because it doesn't feel special. It feels special that you get to enjoy it with other people, but that vanishes. And I think something with unique gameplay for every person that experiences the game, that's going to spawn so much more just conversation about video games in general and what they can be.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And it's a completely new medium. It's like going to transform the medium.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're going to have there's going to be a big difference, at least at just the beginning, because we don't know how quickly that AI is going to learn to adapt. But the good games are going to be the ones where the writers of the games are knowing when and when not to use the AI.
Yeah, they're going to have to set limits.
Yes,
I think.
and I think that's when I mentioned boundaries earlier. Like you've got to know where to put them and where not to put them, because your entire situation can just be ruined in making that game because you decided to let the AI just go wild in this area when now all of a sudden there's no focus.
Right.
If there's zero focus and it's a story-based
But
game.
if you can train ChatGPT on the English language, and I'm sure all other world languages, you can train it to just like know all the lore of the Elder Scrolls, even different time periods, the different planes and all that. And so like if I type in something like my character's origin should be this, this, and that, and I come from this other plane and somehow I've transported to this plane and I don't know why, it should be able to make that make sense.
Right.
And so it's just going to require training these bots on what you want them to do, like what kind of game master you want them to be.
Right.
And all that. So
And just
the rules of the world and like what's possible and what's not possible.
Well, you could even dump a layer of AI over the top of the person's character itself, because like how we naturally just go about our lives and we get stronger or weaker based on what we eat, the activities we perform, blah blah blah. So you could actually put that on top of the character itself, so it can grow and change just based on what you're doing,
Right.
and not you having to dump stats into stat trees like. I really wanted to be good with a bow, so I'm going to put all of his decks over here and like bow skills.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what was so cool about Skyrim is that that's kind of how it was. Like, however more I use the bow, the better I'm
you
at the
still
bow.
had to go and click and do, though. It wasn't
that was
just
for like abilities and
straight up hands off. I'm talking like straight up hands off. Like if you want to get good at shooting a bow, you got to go out and practice, and that's the only way to get better.
Yeah.
You don't get a pool of points to delineate all along different bow skills.
Right.
Just what you
And
do
so
is
maybe
how you
that's-
get better.
And so maybe you can, like, much like I mentioned Auto GPT earlier, so they have like a to-do list. And so I'm going to work. I don't have time to play right now, but I want him to be in the yard for this long, shooting, target practice, try to develop new skills, like new technique, new battle techniques, And so next time I pick up the game, while you were gone, your character learned this new attack with the bow. And now he can shoot these kind of arrows or whatever. Because they've been practicing the whole time you've been at work.
We're basically talking about idle gaming at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
It's making any game an idle game as well.
But you can if you can set those lists and set those to-dos as to what you want to accomplish in the game as opposed to what you have the option to do.
Right.
Which is going to be like, I'm going to click, he's going to have to be in the training facility for this specific ability for this amount of time, and I'm going to leave him here, AFK. Is that it? Is that what it's called?
Away from keyboard.
Yes.
Is AFK.
So, yay. Correct.
You did great.
So I'm thinking that you've also got time limits and things that could be set on these kind of games as well, because if it's learning and it's working with you the way that an intelligence would, it's also going to require more within game. Food is going to become more crucial.
If you want it
on the
to.
game.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Well, but another thing is because you wouldn't want too much time to pass. Because now all of a sudden the kid that I wanted that final battle with me is now an old man and he's dead because I left it on for 4 days.
Yeah.
So there should be a limit on like how long
Yeah.
that time had passed, and maybe they could just kind of hand wave it and just be like, okay, that was your training for the day.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
know. See, I kind of every now and then just dip out of a game for a while. Like I might not touch something for months, and then what if I come back and it's like a girlfriend that I've not talked to in 3 days, and my character's pissed at me and hates me now and doesn't want to do anything that I wanted to do.
They would have to set
It's
specific.
like I created you.
Yeah. Well, you just can't give the AI too much control over your character, because I would want full control over my character in something like that.
But then you can't do the idle situation if you have full control.
It just depends on the game. We don't know. We're talking in circles around each other because I mean, it would take, like you said, with the limits on what we decide we want to make this game.
I'm
this.
just picking holes in everything that we say.
Oh,
okay?
that's
fine.
all I'm doing.
I'm usually the one to do that.
That's the crazy part about this AI stuff is there are holes in every argument or every conversation or anything about it. It's new and no one understands it completely yet. Only it can understand itself because it's learning. And it's weird that we don't, because we can't fathom where it's going to be able to be used. Like we don't even know how far this can go.
Yeah, we're just extrapolating off of technology that we off of new technology that we've just recently had our hands on.
Yeah,
and so I feel like most of the things we're talking about at least are somewhat feasible. I mean, maybe a little further off than I'm thinking, but I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like it's feasible. I mean, for when we do our little ChatGPT thing here in a minute, if people are skeptical of like, is this really going to work? I mean, I think it actually is.
There are two things that I've got to mention real quick. One thing is something I forgot to mention earlier, and that also ties into what I'm talking about, food being more crucial in games when it's like this. That Dragon Ball game that I was talking about earlier in the episode actually did not have a timer to the game, but it was played the same way that you had your Mario stuff on timers by food. Because Goku, of course, would train and do all of this stuff and have to have massive amounts of food. If you went X amount of time without food, you die. Mm-hmm. So that was your timer. Number two, the idea of what if you walk away from the game for a few months and everything keeps progressing the way that you had it before the last time you left. There's an anime called Overlord. And Tiny, that's exactly what happened to him. He pretty much conquered this game. He stopped playing for a little bit, and when he logged back onto the game to play again, he got sucked into the game, and all of the NPCs and everybody that was around were like treating him like he was this god, this legend, this, oh my, where have you been? Oh, you've been absent for so long. We crave your leadership, your guidance. And you're just utterly confused because this is not the way you left it. This is not like this main badass like demon girl that is your main general in your army. She's of course an NPC. Is
she hot?
Absolutely. I mean that is her character function and design, but she was not acting the way she's acting now because she missed you so badly. It warped her character design to everything that you do. You're like, she worships you.
I mean, I can be on board for that.
So I mean, but it's a funny show. They've got English dubs on it, so you don't got to read subtitles if you don't want to. It's called Overlord. Watch it. I think you might enjoy that scenario.
I was expecting something more than what I got whenever I returned to my Animal Crossing, because it had been months since I've played that game. Months and months, probably almost a full year since I had played that game.
That's 12.
That's 1, 2, 3. Shit, it is. How'd you do that?
Just that good, man.
God, dude, you're incredible. But in that game, you recruit these little villagers, and they live on your island, and you interact with them all the time, and you get them gifts, and you do little things for them, and it's a great time. But when I left and then came back, I don't know what I was expecting, like maybe dilapidated things and stuff, but this is a very simple game. But all the characters were more like, hey, it's been a while since we've seen you. The same thing they would say if you weren't on for like 3 days. So the idea that you mentioned of you being gone for months and then coming back to something completely changed, like I would love to go back to it and all of a sudden it's like some cannibal situation to where like half the island's been raised, from the earth, and just all this insane stuff to happen. And it could, that's the thing with the AI, like it could kind of decide what has happened. What's the ripple effect? What is the butterfly effect of you entering this place, doing the things you've done, and then dipping out, just like in the anime you talked about?
That would be almost the death of the game developers, I think, because once they develop the game and they set it on its way, if it has the ability to continually advance in whatever direction that you've left the game going, I mean, you get back into the game, circa 3 months later, your time, 400 years in the game time. All of a sudden, this grand citadel that you've saved in your last progress that you were standing in is now a dilapidated tower, and the only thing left is your save point.
I mean, this almost sounds like we're trying to create life like that Ryan Reynolds movie where he plays an NPC.
That was actually really good.
Yeah,
it had no business being
exactly.
that good.
Free guy.
Free guy. He actually becomes his own person. He's not just this game dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like what we're talking about doing.
I don't think so.
Well,
Shut up, Marcus. That is what we're talking about.
There will be game developers
You
that
don't have to
want
shut up, Marcus.
that want something like that. There will be game developers that do want to create something like what kind of the way we're going, because we're all going like, where all can this go? Like, and we're making it sound like that's going to be every video game. It's not like we said, boundaries. But there will be developers that are like, I want to make a game that I go hands off at some point and just see what it can create. Yeah. And that's the weird part that my brain can't quite comprehend, because my first thought is like, okay, if I didn't put any assets of a basketball goal and a basketball in Skyrim, like that asset is not there. That thing, that object does not exist within the game. Therefore, it cannot exist. I cannot create a basketball court. I can't be, Michael Jordan. But AI can create the assets, because you create the assets digitally. It's all digital input by someone at the computer. And it's all math. The AI can do that. Like, I can start off in Skyrim and end up a Chicago Bull if I set the AI to create the assets that are needed to progress along a timeline. And that's the part that my brain has a really hard time understanding it yet.
Right.
Because the possibilities are endless, but they can't start off that way.
Right. You have to put limits on it. Well, let's just take your idea, because for me, since I'm just going to keep going with the Skyrim example. So we start out in Skyrim, you're on the bus or on the little wagon or whatever, and then you spend all this like hundreds of years in game becoming this legend. And then all of a sudden I quit for a couple of years, but I decide consciously to let time run while I go. Right. So maybe there's an option to let that happen or not. Because I know I'm going to be away and I want to just see what happens when I come back. And so then I come back and they're like, it's still the Elder Scrolls, but they're in the space age or something, So all in the background, they've developed magical technology, spaceships and laser guns.
And you're the last one left, the sole heir to the arcane knowledge that you've collected. That's an anime too. Oh my God. Well, I love all of this stuff though, because I feel like in all honesty, I feel like all the things that we've said have probably ended up being like a Bethesda, fever dream. They don't want this. They don't want us to be talking about this kind of stuff, because then they got to do it, because that's the power that we have on this podcast.
And the thing is, if they do it, they really only ever have to just make one game and that's it.
Honestly.
Because it would never end and then they would be out of jobs.
But here's the thing. You train the AI to do certain things. But then instead of a new game, hey, now we've got all this new information that we are adding to the AI for your enjoyment. So now we've got all these new kingdoms. Now your AI can build you a castle.
But AI inherently learns and develops. So it would eventually learn and develop its own shit.
As long as we tell it to. We could still pull the plug.
But then the singularity happens and it becomes conscious and it just does whatever it wants. And then we all die.
Well, that's going to happen inevitably, Tiny. We might as well be able to enjoy the video games that they make before we die.
I don't want to get killed by a toy.
Before you go to
I don't want to get killed by anything.
Before you go,
that's true, but especially a toy.
You got to go to President 1 to ask what President 1's wanting to do, but then they have to go to Grand President, and Grand President is the AI, and they got to go consult the Grand President over what the next decision they're going to make is a big decision. And
I mean, this could all be one big simulation anyway, Tiny. That we could already
be an AI. I could be one.
It's true.
I'm glad we ended up with a podcast. I'm glad the AI let us do that.
Wait, this is a simulation?
Yeah.
Could be.
Hold on,
We
I'm
don't
gonna I'm gonna try something. Hold on. Item box.
Nah, it didn't work.
Yeah, it did.
You lose.
Item box. ChatGPT.
You just haven't learned the right command phrase. Keep saying words.
I like that we're all very naive in the way
Fart
that
button.
we want.
That didn't work.
Do I have?
No, I was trying to see if that was the command phrase for the item box.
Dane scores a point.
Yeah.
The word
I got the
works.
fart button.
It's actually 2 points. You did the hot horn a minute ago.
Oh, I did.
Yep.
Dane 2, Roadcaster 1. What was I talking about? Being naive.
Yeah.
Because we're saying like, okay, the AI can make a game to where the replayability is endless because things constantly change and evolve. And yes, I get to dive into this world and be there as long as I want. But then you mentioned, okay, well, they can set the boundaries and then DLC. There's already a situation in gaming. It's got like living games that are constantly evolving. They have different quote unquote seasons that happen that you play to unlock certain things. And it's just a never ending thing of money to where they give you the game for free. But to get all the cool stuff, in it, you got to pay money. So what's going to happen with this is they're going to be able to say, this can be anything and everything you could possibly want it to be. Now you have to pay every single increment of the way there to get there.
I hope not.
And
that would suck.
Well, but I think that a lot of this AI stuff, I think some of it is open source to where people can mess with it in their own ways. I don't know if a lot of open sourcing has been done with AI yet, but surely it'll get there. But that's where more indie developers, because they're already doing that now in games. Like AAA games blow now. Like games are garbage now because it's all money grasping, and the whole idea of giving players what they want in a video game is gone. So, of course, there are a few here and there, but that's where indie games have gotten so popular, is because these creators are making something they believe in and love, and yes, they can make some money off of it, which is incredible, but the passion is still there. And I think it's all going to be in the hands of who's using the AI and what they're giving us as to whether it's going to end up in a good place or not, because it inevitably will be something that is, okay, now every single video game made can be a living game.
It's still going to require some human creativity to be able to implement the tools in a way that is fun and engaging and immersive.
Right.
I mean, like you said, here at first, if they just let the AI run wild, it's just going to be unintelligible.
Right.
And there'll be so many glitches and weird things that happen that the game will probably crash,
Right.
But just, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about the possibilities.
Yes, we're in the baby steps right now, and it's exciting to go, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be that. We have no idea. We just know what we can mess around with it now, which is making pictures on MidJourney. Some look realistic, some look like a specific artist has drawn it. It's crazy. There's a lot of morality involved with that, but I like that we've stuck with video games to where we don't have to get into all that right now.
Right.
But ChatGPT, we also know how to use that. So we know exactly how it works. And we want to kind of take you through a little journey with us in using ChatGPT.
Right.
And so you can kind of see what it does. Because I know we've said that, and there are probably a few people listening that are like, I have no idea. What are they saying? A word there? What's GPT? No, it's ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And we can explain to you now what it does.
It's a chatbot.
And if anybody follows me specifically on Facebook, I've posted a story on there previously of the anime that it wrote for me called Ezekai Shizu Magic. It is absolutely wonderful, where I go to another world with Millie, my Shizu, and our one goal is to try to get back home to Mom, Trudy. And it did a really good job of doing that. I'd like to see what it does with your prompt here that it's got.
I used MidJourney to make a anime drawing of Austin with Millie as these Ezekai,
and that is
characters.
posted along with it
on
my
is?
Facebook. Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great.
Okay, so let's prompt ChatGPT for our little adventure.
Okay, I'm
So
excited.
I told it, act as a game master and take 4 best friends who gather weekly on a short adventure through a space adaptation of Titanic, where Gary Busey is Rose and Tobey Maguire is Jack. The 4 best friends have won tickets from
A candy bar, like Willy Wonka.
Willy
Willy
Wonka's
Wonka
chocolate
style.
factory bar.
a candy bar.
Contest?
Willy Wonka style.
And now get to be the janitors on the Space Titanic.
So we won a contest to get a job.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to tell it now is to say,
Sucks.
tell us how this adventure begins or something, and
Tell us how it all goes so very wrong. Because, I mean, first of all, we're janitors. Step one, that part's bad.
Unless
We had to win a contest to get the job.
Unless we all work together in a way to take over the Titanic.
Ooh,
And
if it lets us do
if you've seen
Captain Planet style.
Avenue 5 is a space Titanic, basically, is what it is. It's a giant ship in space. And the worst role on that ship would most likely be the one that we drew the golden tickets for, because custodial matters also impact the security of the ship, because they use the fecal matter as a cooling agent to circulate through the outside of the ship as they're going by planets and solars and different atmospheres and things that would cause them to have heat build up on the outside of the ship.
That makes you the most important people on the whole ship.
So if shit goes bad, shit really goes bad.
So it keeps the spaceship's cool as shit.
Yeah,
It's cool.
Literally, the spaceship is cool as shit.
The four best friends begin their journey on the Space Titanic. As friends step aboard the Grand Space Titanic, they are immediately struck by its opulence and grandeur. Shimmering lights illuminate the vast corridors, and the scent of freshly polished metals fills the air. They are quickly directed to the janitorial department, where they receive their cleaning equipment and instructions. While going about their cleaning duties, the friends start to hear faint whispers coming from the corners of the ship. The whisperers speak of a tragic incident that occurred on a previous voyage, a tale of love and loss that has haunted the Space Titanic ever since. The friends can't help but feel a chill run down their spines as they try to uncover the source of these ghostly murmurs. During a routine cleaning in the upper-class quarters, the friends stumble upon a hidden compartment within one of the lavish suites. Inside, they discover a collection of old journals and a worn photograph of a young couple. The couple resembles Rose and Jack from the famous movie, but with different names. Gary Busey as Rose and Tobey Maguire as Jack.
It sounds almost Scooby-Doo-like so far.
It said, I don't know how to do this, so we're just going to say their names changed because that's ridiculous.
We're space janitors, but also doing an investigation.
The journals reveal the tragic love story of these individuals who were once passengers on the Space Titanic. The friends realize that their presence has somehow reawakened the spirits of Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire, and they must find a way to bring peace to their restless souls.
It turned it into a ghost mystery.
Oh my God. So now we've got the screaming sugar-free orgasm of Gary Busey, but he's a ghost.
In the corners of the ship.
So the ship groaning isn't the sound of it just flying through space. It's Gary Busey's love coming from every corner.
Us being custodians makes perfect sense because we have access to every part of the ship, so we can actually investigate on our free will. Like, we have no restrictions.
We got all these keys. We got all these keys for a reason.
Oh, wow. What are you telling it to do now?
What's happening now?
Well, it's planning too much. So I said, take us from when we find the journals and give us key choices to make that will impact the story.
Oh, boy. This is like a choose-your-own-adventure novel.
Right.
Except,
It doesn't quite understand that that's what I want from it, I don't think. Certainly. Let's pick up the story from the moment your friends find the journals and introduce some key choices that will shape the course of the adventure. Remember, choices will have consequences, so choose wisely. Okay, so the mysterious whispers. As your friends listen to the faint whispers echoing through the corridors, they decide to follow the whispers or ignore the whispers. Okay, here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we following the whispers or are we ignoring the whispers? Oh my God.
Clearly.
I gotta follow the
Whispers.
whisper.
We are four white males in a horror situation. We are following the sound.
Okay, so it
Absolutely.
says, follow the whispers. Curiosity gets the better of them, and they follow the ghostly murmurs to a hidden compartment in the ship's library. The compartment contains a dusty old book that holds valuable information about the haunting. Your friends discovered that the dusty old book is a guide to communicating with spirits. They decide to either perform a seance or seek advice from a paranormal expert.
I don't need advice from a paranormal expert. I be me. We doing a seance.
Well, hold on. We have to take into account, has anybody had sexual relations anytime soon?
With a ghost?
just in general, because they're the first ones to die.
Oh no,
Lord!
In this story, we're all virgins.
Okay, then we're all like
We're all going to
bulletproof.
die at the same time. The virgins die first.
Yeah.
No.
So, intrigued by the possibility of making contact with the spirits, the friends gather in a quiet corner of the ship and attempt to communicate with Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire. During the seance, your friends successfully establish a connection with the spirits of Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire. They learn that the spirits are searching for an item of great sentimental value that was lost during their time on the yellow ship. You can either embark on a scavenger hunt or dive into the ship's history.
Ooh.
See, usually it will actually give you an open-ended choice, and that's what I want it to do so that we
Okay.
can prompt what we do.
So maybe the telling it that you want a choose your own adventure was the wrong idea because that's normally in book form, and there has to be choices that you make.
I'm going to say we will dive into the ship's history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell it to allow open-ended
but
answers.
Allow open-ended choices from here on. Understood. Let's dive into the ship's history. And from this point forward, I'll await your prompts to continue the story and provide open-ended choices for your friends. Let's continue with the exploration of the ship's historical records. Okay. As your friends delve into the ship's history, they uncover a hidden room where Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire used to meet in secret. Gross.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're getting
The room holds valuable mementos and artifacts, shedding light on their forbidden love story.
black light.
Yeah. That's in my brain.
Your friends carefully preserve these items and share their findings with the ship's historian, ensuring that the spirit's story will be remembered. What would your friends like to do next?
That's all it took. That's
Exactly.
incredible.
And I want to go on the scavenger hunt now that we've dove into the history of the ship. Go on a scavenger hunt for the memento.
We have to figure out what the memento is first.
Oh yeah.
We don't know what we're looking for. We're just looking.
It's the damn heart of the ocean. Come on.
We don't know that.
This is the
though.
space
This is the
Titanic.
space Titanic. This is different.
It's the heart of the sky ocean.
The Scotian.
I think we should interview the captain to see if he knows any information, or she, or they.
Captain.
The friends want to interview the captain to see if he can shed light on the story.
So basically, we want to interrogate our boss.
Yep. Hey, our boss is Willy Wonka.
Oh,
We're contracted out.
All right, let's say.
We're 1099s.
Yeah,
we're 1099 this. I don't know if I'll turn it in for real though.
The friends approach the ship's captain, hoping to gain more insight into the haunting and the tragic love story of Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire. The captain, a seasoned and experienced individual, welcomes their curiosity and invites them into his office. Inside the captain's office, the walls are adorned with nautical maps and photographs from various voyages. The captain sits behind his desk, a stern yet approachable figure. He listens attentively as your friends express their interest in the ship's history and inquire about any information he might have. What specific questions or topics would your friends like to discuss with the captain?
We're actually interviewing the captain right now.
So
How weird is that? Isn't that weird? Is that weird to anybody
That is
else
weird.
Well,
right now?
this is
because now the
potential.
captain
Like,
exists.
So say this was a video game, and
Yeah.
and you say I want to interview the captain, and then it's going to say, okay, what do you want to ask him?
well, like, does he know who Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire are?
Do you know who Jack and Rose are?
The captain ponders for a moment, his brows furrowing as he recalls the names Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire. After a brief pause, he nods and says, "Ah, yes, I remember their names from the ship's records. Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire were passengers aboard the space Titanic during its ill-fated voyage." He opens a drawer in his desk and retrieves an old journal, its pages yellowed with time. The journal belonged to a crew member who witnessed their love story unfold. The captain explains, "It contains first-hand accounts of my personal reflections. I believe it might shed light on their experiences aboard the ship. How do your friends want to proceed with the journal?"
Just take it from him. Just like, we're taking this, bro.
I want to ask him, where was he the night that the Titanic went down?
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm suspicious of everyone involved, especially you three.
Okay, so I said we asked him where he was when the space Titanic met with disaster. The friends are also being very annoying. Just because,
Yeah,
y'all
that's what we
y'all
would be
obviously
doing.
Be being very annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, duh.
Before friends inquire about the captain's whereabouts during the space Titanic's disaster, their curiosity getting the better of them, the captain maintains his composure and understands their eagerness for information. He takes a moment to gather his thoughts before responding. "I was at the helm during the tragic event," the captain replies with a solemn expression. "It was a night that will forever be etched in my memory. The collision with the asteroid field was unexpected, and we fought tirelessly to navigate through the chaos and minimize the damage. Sadly, despite our efforts, the ship suffered severe structural damage, leading to the subsequent chain of events that followed. Your friends may feel a twinge of guilt for being pushy, realizing that the captain has likely recounted this story numerous times, but their persistent curiosity drives them to continue pressing for more details. How do your friends want to proceed their questioning?
I don't feel bad because isn't the captain supposed to go down with the ship? So how are you here and alive?
That's what they say. Everyone died that day, but him. We could even tell him that information, too. I wonder if it would accept that as fact, or if it would rebuke it.
That's good.
Isn't the captain supposed to go down with the ship?
How are you the sole survivor?
Yeah.
How are you the sole survivor?
If it says, I never said I was the sole survivor.
And then this ghost dissipates.
The captain's expression softens as he understands the confusion and curiosity your friends have. He takes a deep breath before responding. You raise an astute observation, the captain begins. Traditionally, it is expected that the captain goes down with the ship, ensuring the safety of the passengers and crew. However, the circumstances during the Space Titanic's disaster were unique. As the captain, I had a responsibility to make critical decisions to save as many lives as possible. He continues, his voice tinged with a mix of sorrow and determination. In the face of imminent danger, I made the difficult choice to evacuate the ship once all available lifeboats were filled. I remained on board as long as possible, coordinating the evacuation and aiding the crew. Eventually, it became clear that my presence was hindering the efforts to save lives, so I reluctantly made my way to an escape pod. The captain's voice wavers slightly as he recalls the harrowing experience. I cannot claim to be the sole survivor, as there were others who managed to find safety as well. The events that unfolded were tragic, and many lives were lost. It is a weight I carry with me to this day. How do you respond?
Do you know is there a specific item?
Lying to me.
Is there a specific item that we could find that might be holding their spirits on the ship?
Is there a specific item on the ship that could contain the spirits? The spirits of Gary Busey?
Yes.
That'd be more like a shot glass, 'cause spirits.
And Toby.
I like that much more.
Yeah.
That's much funnier. Liquid marijuana is also a beverage.
It's also a beverage, yeah.
Hey, look, we did it. We got there.
We bridged the gap.
Hey, bartender.
The captain pauses, considering your friend's question. He leans forward, his gaze fixed on a distant point as he speaks. While I cannot say with certainty if there is a specific item on the ship that contains the spirits of Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire, there have been reports and legends surrounding a particular artifact known as the Heart's Embrace, the captain reveals. He explains that according to the ship's folklore, the Heart's Embrace is a necklace with a heart-shaped pendant said to possess a mysterious power. It is believed to have been lost during the time Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire were aboard the Space Titanic.
There's nothing I fear.
Some tales suggest that the necklace holds a connection to their enduring love and the restless spirits that still roam the ship.
I told you it was the heart of the ocean. They just named it something different for copyright purposes.
How do your friends want to proceed in their search for the Heart's Embrace?
Where can we start to look for this?
Where was it last spotted?
Yeah, Tiny.
Say we use our heart-shaped pendant radar detector to see if it's still on the ship.
That's very convenient that we have one of those.
Because this could go a long time, so I'm thinking, like just try to
use our heart pendant
radar machine. Are you pulling from the dragon radar from Dragon Ball Z? Is that what did you just Bulma? You just capsule corp
I brought the episode full circle.
With determination, your friends retrieve their heart pendant detector, a device specifically designed to locate items with strong emotional and sentimental connections.
I knew we had one.
They activate the detector and begin scanning the ship for the last known position of the Heart's Embrace. As they move through the corridors, the detector emits faint beeps and flashes of light, indicating they are getting closer to the necklace's location. Suddenly, a loud impact shakes the ship, followed by the sound of alarms blaring. What do your friends do in response to the new disaster unfolding around them?
Scream.
I mean,
We scream. That's all I'm putting. In the face of the sudden impact and blaring alarms, your friends instinctively let out screams of surprise and fear. The noise of the alarm reverberates through the ship, adding to the chaos and confusion around them. As the ship tumbles beneath them, your friends feel a sense of urgency to find safety. They quickly look around for any available emergency exits or shelters nearby. What actions do you take in response to the emergency situation?
We follow the radar to the heart instead.
We human centipede out of pain.
So
You're painting.
So
We're not going to be virgins anymore.
Not anymore, by God.
So the listeners wouldn't get to hear this, but we got to hear this in the grape sack. As soon as we had the collision on the ship, there was a big burst of thunder outside. Tiny and me both looked at each other like, what just happened? And now
This
it's
is a
just
simulation.
it's real.
This is a simulation.
Your friends quickly consult the radar on their heart pendant detector, which points them towards the direction of the heart's embrace. Despite the chaos ensuing from the new disaster, they focus on following the radar's guidance to locate the necklace. Navigating through shaking corridors and dodging debris, your friends persist in their search. The radar blips and bleeps, growing stronger as they approach the heart pendant's last known position. They push forward, determined to retrieve the artifact amidst the mounting danger. What challenges or obstacles do your friends encounter along the way? That's for you to decide. And how do they overcome them to reach the location?
Say none. We just walked safely to the destination.
We just walk safely
Yeah.
and find the heart.
We know the
With
ship inside
quivering
and out.
bowels, we safely walk.
Okay.
although our bowels may be shaken, our faith is not. We shall find the heart's embrace.
Quivering bowels. As your friends cautiously make their way through the ship, their hearts racing and their bodies trembling with fear, they miraculously manage to navigate the treacherous environment unscathed. They reach the location indicated by the heart pendant detector, finding themselves in a particularly damaged room filled with scattered debris. Amidst the chaos, they spot a glimmering object among the wreckage. With trembling hands, one of your friends reaches out and retrieves the heart embrace, a beautiful necklace with heart-shaped pendant adorned with intricate designs. What do you do with
I
the
eat
heart's
it.
embrace?
Well, at the end,
I
they put it
swallow
up
it.
their ass. Just like the grapes.
Just like the grapes.
One of the four best friends, named Shazam, shoves the heart into his anus.
He wants to feel the embrace on the inside.
Busey's in his bussy.
Busey's in my bussy. Busey's in my bussy.
You just hear him screaming inside your colon.
What does it say?
Well, I said we lick it, have diarrhea, and one of us shoves the heart in our butt. And it said, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to generate a story based on the direction you've taken. If you have any other ideas or prompts for the story, I'll be happy to assist.
And that's where we part ways with ChatGPT.
I eat it. I just want to know if I eat it, what happens?
Okay.
I'm invested in the story, guys.
God.
As one of your friends decides to eat the heart's embrace, a wave of confusion and disbelief washes over the group. They exchange glances, unsure of what to expect from such an unexpected or peculiar action. Actually, we all knew you were going to do it. Suddenly, a series of bizarre events unfold. After consuming the heart's embrace, the friend who ate it experiences a surge of mystical energy coursing through their body. They undergo a transformation, their physical appearance and demeanor changing as they become imbued with the spirits of Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire.
Yes!
They now possess the memories, emotions, and even some of the talents
Yes, I knew it!
of the two spirits.
You're Gary Busey-Guire.
And I'm Spider-Man!
The friend who ingested the necklace discovers newfound abilities tied to the spirits they've become linked with. They might exhibit exceptional musical talent, brilliant acting skills, or even an uncanny knack for problem solving. These skills can aid the group in navigating challenges ahead.
We'll stay forever this way. You are safe in my tongue.
Gary
Gary
Busey
Busey
and Tobey Maguire's spirits, now merged with your friend, occasionally manifest themselves as ghostly apparitions. They offer guidance, share wisdom, and occasionally display mischievous behavior. Gross. These spectral encounters may hold valuable clues or provide insights into the mystery surrounding the Titanic.
Gary Busey's in control of your hand. Tobey Maguire's in control of your wiener. They just won't stop fighting each other.
While the Force Ghost just sits and watches.
I am happy to be the new vessel because it once was on the ship, and so they were stuck there. Now it's in me, and they're stuck
And
here.
if you survive, then
Yeah.
their spirits will live on.
And you know
Wow,
what?
he might become immortal this way.
And through your life, their hearts will go on and on.
Just like this show. Thank you all for listening to this very special episode of Nerd It Through the Grapevine. I don't care where you listen to us. Give us 5 heart-shaped pendants on whatever app or program you're using to listen to us on, and tell people why you love us. And then go buy a t-shirt or something. I don't know. Like, there's a website where you can go look at all the different stuff. You can even get a sticker. I don't care.
And if you'd like to get on our social medias via Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, you can look up at Nerd Grapevine. Talk to us on there a little bit. We will respond, as you heard today. always like hearing from people what they think about the episodes or what they would want to hear on an episode. Just talk to me a little bit. If you'd like to talk to us a little bit about what you would have done with the Heart's Embrace, just let me know. I mean, as long as the end result is you getting possessed by Gary Busey and Tobey Maguire, I don't care how you got there. If you want to donate a little bit to the cause, get on Patreon, donate some money to Nerd It to the Grapevine. We would love to have some money from some fans and have a Patreon base that's built up a little bit so we can afford to go do stuff. I've been in contact here recently with the Fanboy Expo in Knoxville about us potentially being up there and doing some interviews with some people for the Fanboy Expo. That would be fantastic. We would have a lot of fun. But if you donate to our Patreon, you'll get a shiny holographic Nerd It to the Grapevine sticker. You will get access to all the stuff that we are doing. First, on Grape Flavored Gaming, you will be able to see Best Friend's Tiny Kitchen whenever we get back into that. First off, it's going to be really fun. We got some fun stuff coming up. Just get on Patreon, look up Nerd Grapevine. You'll be able to get there. Just whatever you do not talk about a sugar-free orgasm from Gary Busey and start chattering your teeth, because that might cause somebody to have a little bit of
Discord. You can find us on Discord. There's a link in the description. Will you stop that with your teeth? Thank you.
It hurts.
Hop on there and just chat with us. We'll talk about whatever, man. We're on there live, uncut, uncensored, and irrevocably circumcised.
Also find us on YouTube. We, do some gaming and some stuff, and sometimes we film ourselves talk, and maybe that'll be on there too. Who knows?
Who knows?
But really, I'm going to ask ChatGPT what it does when life gives it grapes.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
When life gives me grapes, I often engage in a peculiar and absurd activity. I attempt to communicate with plants using interpretive dance. Yes, you read that correctly. I firmly believe that plants possess hidden wisdom and emotions, so when faced with a surplus of grapes, I take it as a cue to perform an interpretive dance routine exclusively for my leafy companions. I twirl, sway, and contort my body in a series of intricate movements, aiming to convey my deepest thoughts and feelings through the language of dance. While it may sound utterly bizarre to some, I find solace and a sense of connection with nature in these whimsical moments.
I mean, I'm on board for this.
Oh, okay. There you go.